start getting into a bigger tile like this, there is the possibility that when they fire it, because it is still porcelain, so it's a fired material.
I had a Caesar to go with mine.
That it can have a slight variation. It might cup. It might, like, one corner might be slightly raised. I mean, it's very subtle.
That it's easier to do smaller tiles, or is it because you have settling or some things like that?
It's more the size. The larger the tile you get, the more risk you have in having slight variations in the flatness of the surface. There are some manufacturers I've seen that have said you cannot lay it on a 50% brick pattern, meaning like if you lay it like this and then you have another joint at 50%, so the other, the other full tiles here, because there may be a variation in the height from this midpoint to the corner.
Yeah, and that's what we struggle with. Not to deter people because it's incredible looking, but yeah.
Yeah, and so that is a question to talk with the whoever's selling you the tile, is what does the manufacturer recommend? Because I just ran across that with another tile where they said you really should only do it at about a 15% brick, so your joints would be kind of right in this range, kind of staggered back and forth. So, but it's certain, yeah, like you said, should not deter you from using products like this. And there are other like smaller options too, if you wanted like a smaller subway tile type pattern or something like that. So that's something fun. You guys want to see this, or I can leave it up here? You can see it from here. Okay.
Hey Laura, you don't care if I'm periscoping this, do you?
No, please do, because Susan was like, "Can you record it?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am.
So here is another, and this may be better up close. I don't know if you can see it with the light. Another wood look porcelain. So this is a tile. In fact, I didn't even bring you any natural wood because I know you guys know what wood looks like. But this is one of them. If you look at it at an angle and you can feel it, this has a very distinct wood grain texture, which is really kind of nice, and has that longer plank size. So we're doing this in a laundry room and pantry and bar area, and we were able to match this to the current wood floor that is just adjacent.
Nice.
So it will hopefully look almost seamless.
Wow. Really?
With the benefit of a porcelain in those wet areas. So
that's an option for my craft
that
room.
Is a
to make it blend all the way up the stairs.
Yeah.
I love you, Laura Davis.
These are fun too, because you can do these in a herringbone pattern, or kind of switch it up, play with the grout joints a little bit and give yourself a little extra texture. So that's kind of another thing to keep in mind. You don't have to lay them all just in a straight line. So that's up here if you guys want to see it. And then recently I've been really fortunate to work with a client who said, I want my house to be bohemian.
That's awesome.
Bohemian contemporary is kind of where we were going. And I was like, oh. Okay, but I'm gonna have to. Yeah, exactly. Challenge on. It's not Texas vernacular, and it's not cottage. It's I'm not as familiar with bohemian, but it was a super fun kind of style to kind of get acquainted with, because it is all about organic patterns, handmade. Kind of off the beaten path, sort of. I mean, if you think about sort of gypsy, Mother Earth kind of, ideas. So this tile, which comes in several sizes, and can you guys see how there's sort of an embossed texture on it? It's called Leaf, and it is a porcelain tile. We're doing this in her daughter's bathroom, and we're doing it in a plank. I think it's like an 8 by 18 plank. And the fun thing is that this big kind of organic but geometric leaf pattern is repeats. So if you lay it in the right way, it is an entire pattern up the wall. So it looks like wallpaper.
Wow. Oh, that's cool.
So cool. And it comes in a couple different colors. So this kind of unique idea, away from natural stones or natural wood, is another sort of vein of design that we're seeing more of. And similar to something like this, do you guys want to see this? You want to pass it?
Did that originate in Austin? It's kind of Austin.
I don't know. Portland. Yeah.
Eugene type. Does anybody else want to take a look? That's really cool.
So in the same house with this same family, we are also seeing more printed tiles and handmade tiles. So this looks like a funny shape. It's actually just a slice of a hexagon. And that would be another trend, I would say, is that we're seeing more unique shaped tiles.
The shape of the tile itself?
It's a hexagon. Yeah. So this was a scrap off of what they trimmed. Yeah. But to give you a sense of sort of a printed pattern, we did this in the entire master shower and around the skirt of the big soaking tub in the master bath.
Wow.
Yeah. So not only with the hexagon shape as kind of adding a unique texture, but also the printed tile. So that's something we're seeing more of. And then this was one, we started with this one in their powder bath. This was going to go all over the wall behind the vanity. We since switched to a different tile that she fell in love with even more, and I've got the brochure that she can see on. But just the idea of, it's okay to go with something a little bit bold. You don't have to shy away from something that just, if it gets you really excited and you love that little punch of texture and color, go for it, because there are more and more options in this printed tile range. So if you have sort of a special, maybe a smaller quantity area of something, you could do sort of an inset in a shower, you could do over the cooktop, or even just a little inset in the floor where it looks like an area rug kind of thing in your tile. Yeah, there's fun opportunities to use things that are a little bit different.
Easy to change.
Yeah, if it's smaller quantity, because these are a little bit more expensive, but they're certainly great options. So, yeah, that's perfect. So another thing we're seeing in tile. Do you guys have any questions yet about all these goodies? So this, we are still seeing mosaics. So this is comes in a 12 by 12 sheet. It's got this mesh on the back. So it's real easy for the guys to install. They just, they don't have to set each individual tile. But you get the benefit of what we're seeing is mixed materials in these mosaics and mixed shapes. So we're seeing a lot of those plank shapes and sizes in the big tiles. We're also seeing it in the mosaics. So this is a mix of squares and rectangles and real skinny pieces. And then a little bit of a touch of bling. So we've got the metallic in there. We've got, this is actually real marble. Here, the white solid, it may be hard to see. And then we have some clear glass pieces with sort of an iridescent paint on the back. So you get a real depth and texture with something like this. So this one is going as an accent band in the shower with that glossy marble.
Awesome.
So,
Oh, wow, pretty.
yeah, so a little bit of bling and femininity in that bathhouse.
You have that real marble piece that's inside in there. How do you prevent that one little spot from looking rough after a while? Do you have to go in and reseal your little marble pieces, or do they
Not necessarily. I mean, it's a small enough quantity. It's not going to be a huge issue. We also do it up high enough so that it's out of basically the direct spray of the shower, so it's not getting doused with water, for the entire shower. This would also work like on a backsplash where it's not having direct contact with water. We're seeing less of kind of your standard accent band. This particular client wanted the accent band, but sort of the next phase of using these kind of decorative mosaics is to go for a real impact punch and do either an entire wall or do, like, say, a 2-foot wide strip all the way up the whole length of the wall. So do it in a different way where you can still enjoy the texture and the kind of the special design piece that brings, but we do it in a different way. This is another example of a mosaic that we're using in the same house. This one's going in the guest bath. And what's kind of fun about this is it mixes stainless steel. Are we figuring out?
Delivering lunches.
We're figuring out silverware. Yeah. Okay, so this one, following in the same idea of mixing materials, this one has stainless steel pieces, glass pieces. It has this special crackle glass, which is kind of fun, and then it also has actual pieces of real quartz.
Wow.
Either quartz or granite, you know, actual real stone. So this one's kind of fun. She's doing this in the guest bath, and we're also doing it around the front apron of the tub, so that she gets a really nice band of, you know, in the bathroom.
To go on that bottom just before the flooring? Is that where it goes
Well,
to the
yeah,
tub,
we
or
picked a tub. You know, your typical tub that's an alcove in your bathroom. It has a white part piece on the front.
Yep.
Well, the one we ordered gets it's still an alcove tub, but it doesn't have that front piece. So you build it out. You actually frame something on the front with the cement board, and then you lay the tile across the entire front of the tub. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So that'll give you more of an impact than just a little accent band. Okay, so how are we doing? I'll show you two more sort of accent pieces, and then we'll talk about countertops. So this is probably more typical of what you all are used to seeing as far as, you know, backsplash style mosaics. But this, I feel like, takes it one step further, again, mixing the materials. So we have natural limestone in here, which this particular house is a country ranch house down in South Dallas. And it's kind of out in the country. It's on 10 acres, and the whole exterior has a bunch of this kind of limestone. So she wanted to pull, this is going in the kitchen backsplash. She has a real busy granite on the countertops. It has a lot of this kind of copper metallic in it, so we're pulling that into us. And it has the stainless steel that'll match her appliances. So she was not afraid to go with some real texture and kind of pop with these, because the rest of the cabinets are kind of a calm off-white. So that's where this is going. So still seeing some of this linear shape, but with the mixing of the other materials. And then this beauty, this is real abalone shell. So kind of taking that mix of materials one step further, we're seeing more of these kind of mosaics with natural shell in it. So that beautiful iridescent abalone kind of, you know, myriad of colors. We're seeing that in some of these real specialty pieces. So we're doing this as an accent panel behind her big soaking tub in her master bath, and we've got lights above it to kind of, you know, cascade some really beautiful lighting. Exactly. So this one's really fun if you want to come up and see it.
Okay, how do you clean that?
Yeah.
You dust it. You dust it. This isn't. Yeah, this is not
That is
for
beautiful
water.
for somebody else's house.
I like the bottom with the
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you would probably, you know, the canned compressed air that you use for your computer. You'd probably use something like that, or even a vacuum attachment. Just very lightly, you know, brush it off and get the dust off. Yeah, it's definitely for a very specific installation, but I think it's going to be really stunning. Yeah, it's a very large bathroom, and it's going to be at the back wall, so you'll see it when you walk in. So that's something special that we did in that bath. It's in the same bathroom with the marble lip tile and the kind of blingy accent. So that's kind of fun. Oh, thank you. Okay, so how are we doing? Questions? Yes.
Can you press that one with the mosaic?
Yeah.
Okay. You hear a lot of times that when you decorate, you should decorate with the eye for, if you were going to sell your house, what the majority of people wouldn't like versus what you yourself like. What's your take on this? For somebody that's going to keep a house maybe 3 to 5 years, or maybe even less, what's your take on that?
Well, and that's a tricky timeline too, because if it's, I would say if it's less than just a couple years, then you probably do want to think resale. And there's a wide range of what I think is acceptable in resale, but still could be something that you fall in love with. versus the like those specialty tiles, the hand painted tiles. That's their forever home. At least it's their forever now home.
Right.
So
Right now,
you
forever
know,
home.
until they get the itch to build again, and you know, we may be redoing this again. The other thing to think about too is that your tastes and your kind of what becomes available is going to always change. So I always say, you know, you're making the investment and you're going to live with this on a daily basis. So pick something you love. Don't compromise, because the you know, if you think, oh, I should have put in another day or two at the showroom and really fine-tuned that one particular tile, or, you know, not loving this color, it's going to drag you down. It's going to, you know, if you've got to be in there every morning to get ready and you're not loving your shower, that doesn't seem like a very fun way for me to start my day. So when I'm working with my clients, I really say, you know, try to put out of your mind what you feel like your realtor is going to tell you. And Liz isn't here, so I can say this. You know, what your realtor might steer you towards, or what you think other people will like, because honestly, everybody likes something a little bit different. If you're an investor, obviously if you're an investor and doing it for resale, yeah, that's kind of a different ball game. And I would say just stick with neutrals and stick with classic, you know, unless it's a true contemporary or a true mid-century modern, where we want to kind of allow the house to guide some of those decisions. It's kind of, you know, it's kind of a case-by-case basis, but in general, and sort of my approach to life is do what makes you happy. You know, life's too short, so, you know, we don't want to be.
You know, sometimes you think you're going to be there for 2 years, you wind up there for 10, and then hate it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest, construction's messy, and it's dusty, and it's loud, and you got guys that you probably wouldn't normally invite into your house, and, you know, I'm sure with the exception of roofers. And they're on the outside.
They're outside anyway. Yeah, that's different, right?
So if you've already prepared to sort of put your life on hold or make accommodations for this kind of remodel, then, you know, make it worth your time and effort and get what you want.
And don't be afraid to stand up for what you
Well,
want.
you're
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you know how crazy they were? My house is a little crazy, but our builder didn't want to do all the lights we wanted. We're like, you're going to do the lights we want. This is what we want.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and it's yeah, I think it's helpful to work with a designer. It's helpful to work with someone who knows what's available and who knows how to get you, or really to listen to what you want. You may not even be able to verbalize what you really would like to see in there, but it's their job to show you options to help guide you to that final selection. And if they're pushing you in one direction and your gut is telling you you really want to be looking at something else, feel free to speak up, because that really is what makes the difference between just a pretty project and something that just knocks your socks off. Yeah. So, okay, so I want to show you a little bit in countertops and talk a little bit about natural stone versus quartz, because that seems to be a big conversation piece right now. Quartz is huge on the market, and there are a ton of options. So we're seeing very similar trends in quartz as we are in the porcelain tiles, as I mentioned, mimicking natural stone. But the benefit of quartz is that it is antimicrobial. So, for example, a marble is going to be really porous, and it's going to soak up whatever sort of nasty stuff you put on it, like especially in a kitchen. A quartz is not going to absorb, you know, say the juice from the chicken that falls off the plate kind of thing. Not to, you know, I know we're having lunch here, but so that's one benefit. It's also generally heat resistant. So I was just talking to my partner yesterday, and she goes, "Oh yeah, I move stuff from the stovetop to my granite countertops all the time." She has a natural granite countertop, but natural stone as well as quartz is generally heat resistant. That scared me to death. I always put down a hot plate or a trivet or something, but that's how they market it. So it's you don't have to be afraid if something hot makes it onto your countertop. And then they're very low maintenance, so you do not have to reseal a quartz countertop. Quartz is essentially, the way they make it, is a natural stone. It's the quartz stone itself, but they grind it up into bigger and smaller pieces, or even dust, to get the different colors and textures. They also mix in different pigments to get all the different color variations, and then they mix it all up in a slurry with epoxies, and they pour it in slabs. So that's how it comes about, you know, versus a natural stone, obviously, that's cut at a quarry, and they slice it into little, you know, 2 centimeter or 3 centimeter thick slabs, and then they manufacture, you know, fabricate it from there. So when you are picking these quartz pieces, they're not going to pour your shape of countertop. You know, it's not made specifically for that. They come in slabs, and you buy a whole slab generally when you select a color.
What's the size of a slab?
The ones I'm dealing with right now, I think, are 120 inches by 56 inches. So that's what, 12 feet by 4.5, something like that. So it's enough to get, like, typically your countertops in your kitchen, for example, are about 2 feet deep. And so it's enough to get 2 rows, basically 24 feet of linear countertop out of one slab. So it's fairly generous. You can get quite a bit out of it. But keep that in mind. If you're looking to just do, say, a little 4-foot bathroom vanity, you're going to probably want to go to a stone fabricator that has access to stone in smaller quantities. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with spending $2,500 on a slab of quartz and not getting to use, you know, 3/4 of it. So, you know, those kind of logistics are something that we can kind of walk you through, but keep in mind that's how the industry works. That's how your fabricators work with the material. So, and these are pretty easy to pass around, or I can leave them up for you guys to look at. But we are seeing amazing changes in the quartz to the point where they can do a whole slab that looks like a whole slab of marble. So we're getting some really wonderful large veining running through, where it's not just all the texture you get is from a little tiny speck or small piece of the quartz. And I've got the brochure for this. This happens to be Caesar stone, but they've got several variations of basically, if you want a white marble, Calcutta or Statuaria or things like that. This is another one that we're using in a master bath, but it's got some really wonderful taupes and grays and kind of cream colors, so that's another texture. And then another fun thing we're seeing is a lot of, this one's called clamshell, so it kind of mimics a limestone with the kind of the fossil look in it with the little bits of shells that you would see typically in a limestone. But we're also seeing a lot of quartz products mimicking concrete. Which is a really fun look, and it's available. You can either do it on countertops. You could even buy the whole slab and put it in a shower. You know, we've seen wall applications, so that's another fun way to do it. And then, for example, this piece, I don't know if you all can see it, but it's got kind of a little bit of flash and glitter. This was one that our 11-year-old client selected for her bathroom, and Mom and Dad are pretty cool. They said you guys can pick whatever you want, so she gets to have a little bit of her princess bling in her bathroom. Assuming that in the 2 years that we've gone from design to finishing the house, she hasn't changed her mind. But, I don't think these are installed yet, so I'm sure we'll revisit that. But this is a fun option. Recycled glass can be put in these pieces, and so it's really a wide variety of what we're seeing. But generally, what we're specifying and what we're seeing is the range of grays, of course. Less maybe in the the tans and the beiges right now, but we have them available if people want them. So
I have a
lots of fun options.
Are you seeing honed stone, or is it all shiny still?
We are seeing honed, and in fact, Caesar Stone is coming out with several of their most popular pieces in a honed finish. Yeah,
Nice. Very
yeah.
nice.
So definitely options. Honed is sort of a matte finish, so it's a little bit of it's not the slick polished texture. It's a matte.
We really wanted honed granite or in our kitchen, but there wasn't anyone that would do, because we were building with a builder.
Yeah, it's more of a custom finish.
It's more prevalent from our research in the Northeast.
Yes. So in the Northeast, you'll see a lot of soapstones and slates that are honed, which are beautiful, but they kind of take on a dull matte finish. And so if that's the kind of look you want, you can do that. But one of my partners is working on a project, and she's doing a quartz countertop that has a smaller speckled texture to it, but with a little bit of green in it. And the edge, finish of the edge is a hammered chiseled edge to it. So it looks like, you know, what you would expect to see, you know, kind of the texture of hitting it with a hammer and it cleaving off naturally, that sort of thing. So that'll be fun to see. Yeah, really custom.
Bold.
Yeah, beautiful.
But fun.
And it's a very contemporary high-rise apartment. So fun. Yeah. So I've been talking a while. Do you all have any questions?
I have another question. Do you think we're going to stop seeing all the Moroccan tile patterns and all the repeating motifs that are around? Do you think that's going to stay prevalent for a while? Or?
Yeah, I'm not seeing it going away. I was just in the tile showroom yesterday, and I'm still seeing plenty of really gorgeous natural stone work because the water jet and laser jet cutting is so precise and so easy to get your hands on that, yeah, there's some amazing kind of custom mosaics that can be done. So, not yet.
What's your opinion of the retro, like subway tile and things like that?
We do subway all the time. It's classic. It's never going away. And the fun thing is now the manufacturers are giving us more options. So whereas our typical subway tile is a 3" by 6", we're seeing 4 by 8s. We're seeing 3 by 18. We're seeing 4 by 12. You know, there's quite a range, and so you can get some really cool looks. The other thing, when speaking of subway, that I didn't show before, but we're seeing some options in handmade tiles. So whereas a lot of these porcelains are of course mass produced and seem very mechanical, these are very homey, kind of handmade texture. These are actually hand cut and hand glazed in Spain. This is another line from a company called Dow Tile that is a handmade, hand glazed tile from Mexico. And these offer a honed finish as well as a glazed finish, so you have some options on texture. And these are just the color chips, but they come in a really wonderful long kind of 3 by 16 or 3 by 18, I think, is what we were looking at. So yeah, plenty of options, all the way from contemporary to traditional and everything in between.
Lori makes something subway tile. I recognize I mostly see it rectangularly. I can recognize the pattern. But is it something in the tile itself that you would call it? Because you give me all different sizes. What makes it that?
I need to do a little bit of research, but my assumption is that it actually came out of subways. Like if you've ever been to the subways, in Europe and up in New York, that's how they tiled the domes of the walls of the subways.
It's the proportion. It's the porcelain. It's the shiny white, the 3 by 6.
Right, that rectangular kind of brick look.
That 50, that brick pattern, that 50 off. Is that how you
Typically, yeah, for a traditional subway look. And then these, we're gonna do. Not necessarily this handmade tile, but something similar in a white, and my client wants to do a herringbone with the 3 by 6 subway, so a traditional shape, but using it in a more kind of trendy way. And then we're going to do a light gray grout. So that's another thing we're seeing is the lighter tile, but the darker grout. Mm-hmm.
Just like in my industry, technology always takes over, and everything is very modern looking and futuristic.
Yes.
Is there anything in design now that's very mid-century modern or going back towards, the 50s and the 60s in terms of either palette or textures or, like the subway tile, I'm thinking, a diner, old-fashioned diner kind of thing.
We are seeing a return to wallpaper. And that may make some people crazy.
Raised wallpaper in the 70s?
Well, I don't know about that, but yeah, more people are not as afraid of wallpaper anymore, which is kind of interesting. I know my husband will not allow it in our house, no matter how much negotiating I do, but that's definitely an option. So that, like the pattern tile, the sort of not being afraid to do something bold. We're seeing a lot of patterns that are pretty bold, almost like what kind of reminds me of the 60s. It's kind of some of those bolder colors and patterns. So, yeah.
My boys' bathroom is the hexagon black and white, and then the tub is it's subway tile, but it's matte white to match the matte white.
Oh,
And then
nice.
I had to have a heart attack, but we have the glossy black soap dish and towel bar. So it's my ode to my grandmother who had the, you know, pink 1940s bathroom. I love it. So
Yeah. Yeah, we've been really fortunate in the design industry that the manufacturers are supporting us with so many options. So if you want those kind of vintage looking things, we've got a lot of options to try to track them down.
Did you? I forgot the name of the diner, but there's a diner that's in Addison. I guess it's Addison. It was where the old Mormons used to be on Beltline.
Dallas Diner.
Yeah. And I go in there and I'm just like, you know, it's from the 1950s and 60s, and I'm just curious if there's any, like, you know, anything that's being reproduced to look more like that again.
There are, well, and there's been more strides made in the historic preservation community. So we have a lot of manufacturers that are coming on board making, either being available to do it custom, so we can find, if we have a historic piece we want to reproduce, we have now availability to do that. And then there's also just standard lines, like this historic line from Del Tile. It is handmade to order, so it takes about 8 to 10 weeks to get it. But if it's right for the project, it's a great option. And the colors are really beautiful, very luminescent, and you get sort of that pooling of the glaze around the edge, so it looks handmade. You know, each piece is a little bit different. So yeah, we have some really great options for those unique and historic pieces. We also still have really good craftsmen who will do custom millwork, custom wood. You know, a lot of those mid-century moderns have a lot of stained wood, custom built-ins and cabinetry and that kind of stuff. So the one other thing I did want to offer, I brought some brochures as far as contemporary trends in kitchens, and I can hand this around. One thing we're seeing out of Europe right now is wood grained or simulated wood grain on the cabinets, but we're seeing flat slab doors, and we're seeing the wood grain going horizontal. So what you would like these doors where you typically see the wood grain oriented vertically, we're seeing the horizontal. So that's kind of another twist that if you're looking for more of a stunning contemporary look, that's what this image is showing. So this is a cabinetry brochure that has some fun ideas in it. This particular tile line, and it's kind of fun to see where the origins of tile design comes from. This particular one takes its inspirations from architectural details in Europe. So the trussing of the Eiffel Tower, the details on the Chrysler Building in New York, some really kind of wonderful patterns. So this line, this is the tile that we actually ended up putting in the powder bath of the house I'm working on right now. But it has these kind of copper metallic printed patterns on this kind of blue teal glaze tile. So something really pretty unique. But I expect it'll be just stunning in this, this really kind of special.
you have a little bit of a feel of slate without the upkeep of slate too.
Right.
Which is
Yeah,
gorgeous.
and it's still a very low maintenance porcelain tile, kind of standard. So that's kind of fun. And then if you really kind of loved the idea of the pattern tiles, this whole book is all printed pattern textures.
Oh, wow.
So it's almost like, the adult coloring books that are selling right now that Trista brought us some few
You
weeks
would
ago.
see that in like an Italian house. You would see that as their floor easily. I mean,
Yeah.
and my friends who live in Bologna, their parents' floor was basically that red.
I know, isn't that funny? It's a very historic rooted design idea, but it's showing up in very contemporary and very current homes. So we're really lucky to have access to these really wonderful things. Because, back when the economy was not so good, the manufacturers kind of scaled back. They didn't want to, mass produce kind of risky things.
I wouldn't do a floor in that, but just something like an accent color.
Yeah, a kitchen backsplash or
that thing. Oh, get lost.
yeah.
But there's
I know.
something for everyone. That's a nice thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
It's gorgeous.
this whole book has also there's even really subtle
Don't show it to my wife.
patterns, but so anyway, questions,
That's gorgeous.
comments? Can I take orders?
Yeah,
What's your personal style? If you had to define it.
Well, I think I've mentioned before, I love historic preservation. So if I had to build my own home, it would probably be sort of a hybrid craftsman cottage.
Okay.
Just because of the more simple
Yep.
kind of wood details, but a lot of, very linear components, and a big porch.
Oh, yeah.
Big porches. So.
Very cool.
Yeah. So,
Thank you.
yeah, you're so welcome.
good.
Thank
Very
you
good.
for listening so intently.